Crawford's brilliant. Like he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to use your movement.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao.
A lot of people that say that Crawford can beat Canelo, no problem. I mean, I respect that, but I just think they're stupid. I mean, excuse my language. The size difference of a bigger man changes everything with one punch.
Crawford's team has laid out why they think he has an edge over Canelo, but many boxing experts are warning that it's not going to be as easy as he thinks. His camp recently said they believe Crawford has a secret weapon that will be hard for Canelo Alvarez to handle. As the fight draws closer, they believe Crawford's unusual style might be the key to winning this high-stakes battle.
Me, I'm always up for the challenge. Okay. If you know Terence Crawford, you know he's always going to try to challenge. And whatever, you can be bigger than him, taller than him, it don't matter. He's always going to challenge you.
Right.
And I can't not help it.
Right, yeah.
It's just in me, so it's...
Led by veteran coach Brian McIntyre, Crawford's team claims no recent fighter matches his flexibility, fight IQ, or ability to adjust in the ring. They believe this makes him the toughest test Canelo has faced, even with Canelo's legendary career. Still, many in boxing think Crawford will be in serious danger when Canelo starts landing shots. As the September 12th fight nears, Crawford's team insists that Canelo has never faced anyone like him before. Bernie Davis, one of Crawford's close allies, says no amount of training or sparring can truly get Canelo ready for what Crawford brings.
He's still youthful about boxing. He loves boxing, and this is one way to get him up. You know, he's a challenge guy. He loves a challenge, and Canelo is the biggest challenge you can get. You know, we got to go up 2 weight classes, really 3 weight classes to get a guy like that. Hardest puncher, great counter puncher, tons of experience, undisputed champion, unified champion, a couple of divisions.
In an interview with Mill City Boxing, Davis said Canelo will have trouble preparing for someone who changes styles so smoothly and fights in unpredictable ways. He mentioned that while people compare Crawford to Floyd Mayweather for his defense and smart counters, Crawford is a different kind of challenge. Switching between orthodox and southpaw without losing accuracy or power is what sets him apart. Davis believes this skill will be the key to figuring out Canelo.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I believe in my abilities. He's a heavy dude, but he's not a big guy. Like, he's 5'8", I'm 5'8", you know what I mean? My arm's longer than his, you know? That fight would be good. You won't get hit in the fight.
However, some boxing experts say that changing stances a lot might not work against someone like Canelo. He's been in the ring with every style and doesn't get confused easily. They point to his ability to adjust quickly during fights, his excellent movement, and his brutal body shots. Even if Crawford has the tools, the real question is, can he pull it off against someone as experienced as Canelo?
Question to me, how will the 12-pound difference be for Terence Crawford? It's going to be his first fight at 168. For Canelo, this is the weight class that he always fights at, no problem. But I'm really curious on how Terence Crawford is going to be able to adjust to this and if it's going to be advantage.
One of the strongest warnings has come from Amir Khan, a former world champ who fought Canelo in 2016. In an interview with Fast Slots, Khan talked about the knockout that ended his night and changed his career. Khan said it wasn't just a loss. It affected him deeply. "I was never the same again after fighting Canelo," he said. "You can get knocked down and get back up, but the knockout Canelo gave me felt like it took 5 years off my life."
Man, you've said Canelo probably because he's so big and physical and strong. You know, he had the weight behind him. I remember hitting him and he didn't budge. Like, he did not even move. I was like, oh, you know, that's what you think.
Your face when you said that.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, I swear that's what. And when I hit him with that left hook, right hand, and that's a shot I've literally knocked a lot of people down with. And he didn't move back, and I thought, oh shit. I got my hands full here.
Khan's words are a powerful warning about what a fight with Canelo can do. It's not just the punches, it's the long-term effects. He says Crawford must face not only Canelo's power, but the mental toll of facing someone who has crushed many fighters. Khan says Crawford may be walking into a trap set by one of the most dangerous boxers of this generation.
Terence Crawford is going to be such an easy fight for Canelo because Terence Crawford can run the whole fight and win, as we have seen in the Canelo versus William Skull fight, which means Terence Crawford is going to have to engage with Canelo, and Terence Crawford doesn't have the power to hurt Canelo. Terence Crawford's performance against Israel Madrimov was also trash, and Israel Madrimov isn't even the best fighter at 154. And let me remind you, Terence Crawford is 37 years old, so I'm expecting Canelo to knock out Terence Crawford the same way he knocked out Amir Khan.
Come on, Shagor, come here.
Boxing legend Julio Cesar Chavez also shared his opinion on the fight in an interview with Fight Hub TV. He boldly predicted that Canelo won't just win, he'll knock Crawford out. "This is not a fair fight," Chavez said. "Crawford is great, but he's out of his league. He's doing this for money, and Canelo will knock him out." Chavez believes the difference in strength and size is too much for even a highly skilled fighter like Crawford to overcome.
The two fighters are going to be different weight classes, even though they're going to fight on a specific weight. He believes that they're just going because of the money, Crawford, but probably Canelo's going to knock him out.
Would you rather see Canelo?
Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo's former promoter, gave a more balanced view. Talking to Brian Mazik, De La Hoya praised Crawford's skills and said a win would make history. Still, he leaned toward a Canelo victory. "If Crawford wins, he's the greatest ever," he said. "But Canelo's power and size are a problem. He'll be 200 pounds in the ring. It's tough. But if Crawford pulls it off, give him all the respect in the world."
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, this is the truth again, it's a money grab. That's it.
Top boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, who works closely with Canelo, echoed the concern about size. He said Crawford is highly skilled, but moving up in weight is a big risk. He was just at 147, then 154. Now he's jumping to 168? That's a huge leap, Hearn told Boxing Social. Hearn thinks this fight isn't just about skills. It's about how well Crawford can handle someone much bigger.
Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35. 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah.
Hearn pointed to Crawford's fight with Israel Madrimov as proof that he struggled with size even at 154 pounds. He had a hard time with Madrimov, and against Canelo, it'll be even worse, Hearn said. Even though he respects Crawford's talent, Hearn believes the size difference at 168 pounds will be too much.
So I think that it's much too much weight for Terence. You know, his style was difficult, and you know, people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madrimov. You know, I think 168 is much too big for Terence, but like he said, if the money's right, he'll fight.
After beating Ryan Garcia, outspoken boxer Rolly Romero gave his take too. Speaking to ES News, Romero said, "Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford? Who's better? Now imagine Canelo, a full 168-pound man, fighting Crawford." He laughed at people who think Crawford has a shot and said, "That's why we have weight classes." According to Romero, the size and power difference is just too big.
Rolly Romero claims Canelo Alvarez, who has only lost twice in 67 fights, will suffer a third defeat, but not against Terence Crawford. Rolly believes David Benavidez would school Canelo, as Benavidez is fighting to win, not just for a paycheck. However, Canelo has been dismissing a Benavidez fight, focusing instead on a Bivol rematch. In boxing, anything can happen, so stay tuned.
David Benavidez, a top light heavyweight contender who's wanted to fight Canelo himself, also gave his thoughts in an interview with Sean Zittel. He praised Crawford's skills, but pointed out a key issue. Crawford seemed to lose some of his power after moving up to 154 pounds. "I'm not saying he struggled, but he didn't have the same pop he had at 147, Benavidez said.
That fight, there are too many weight classes apart. And although the skills, Crawford is one of the best fighters that I've seen. Now, Canelo is, fighting at 168. Crawford just moved up to 154, and he had some trouble with that in that fight. Now, where do you plan on going? 164, 65, 66? Canelo's going to come down to 160.
For a fighter like Crawford, who relies on timing and accurate counters, any drop in punching power could be a big problem. Benavidez talked about how moving up in weight affects fighters. Crawford's great, and he'll bulk up. But wait, classes exist for a reason, he said. Even with all his talent, Crawford may not be able to handle Canelo's size and strength at super middleweight.
My prediction is Canelo's gonna walk him down. Crawford is gonna do a lot of defense. Now, if he pulls off that win, dude, that's gonna be one of the most biggest upsets of all time for this dude to go up that many weight classes. And now I do think that, he's going to get his little shots in as far as, finessing and all that, because his hands are definitely way faster than Canelo. But just the weight and the way that Canelo fights, he's not going to back up against Crawford.
Benavidez went further, saying the physical gap is just too wide. He pointed out that adding weight isn't simple. It can mess with speed and stamina. Canelo has already fought and won at light heavyweight, so he's used to bigger fights. Crawford has too many disadvantages in his first fight at 168, Benavidez said. Canelo's just bigger and more experienced.
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better, you know what I'm saying? But, Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can't.
Boxer Teofimo Lopez also sided with Canelo, but gave a slightly more balanced take. Talking to ES News, he said Crawford might do well early in the fight, but Canelo will catch up. I think Crawford troubles him in the beginning, but once Canelo adjusts, he'll finish him, Lopez said. He explained how Canelo always finds a way, even against tricky opponents. If Crawford can't hurt him early, he could get worn down just like others have.
Crawford, Canelo, who you got? Crawford, Canelo? I still say Canelo.
I got Canelo too.
I still say Canelo. Ring IQ, I believe that Crawford has a bit more.
Yep.
However, it's just the size difference. I think that where Crawford is lacking is that he should try and test the waters even with somebody at that weight class before facing Canelo. But hey, they say he's a dog, he's got shot in the head and drove to the hospital, so maybe that's...
Despite these warnings, Crawford's team remains confident. Still, even his trainer Brian "Bomac" McIntyre has raised concerns. Just not about size or power. He's worried about fair judging. Canelo has the bigger name, Bomac said in a Mill City boxing interview. If the fight's close, will we get a fair shake? He's worried Crawford might not win even if the fight is tight.
Everybody that believes in hardcore boxing fans, they know Crawford can beat Canelo just like they knew Bud was going to beat Spence. This is real simple. It's real simple. You just got to know boxing in order for you to be able to say that.
Some critics say Bomac is already making excuses. They argue that talking about judging now shows Crawford's team isn't sure he can win clearly. If the fight goes to the judges and Canelo wins, these early comments could be used to claim the fight was stolen rather than just lost.
Right. I want to apologize. Yeah. Because after watching that fight, I see what you were talking about.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's movement. That movement all sets everybody, man. And with Canelo, he get frustrated. You see he walking to you and all that. If he can't touch you, you know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean?
Now, did watching that make you feel like Terence Crawford has better than a 50% chance?
But not everyone doubts Crawford. Trainer and analyst Teddy Atlas believes in him. On his podcast, Atlas said, "I'm not picking against Crawford. He's special. Canelo's great too, but Crawford hasn't learned how to lose." Atlas pointed to Crawford's mental strength, sharp boxing brain, and will to win as reasons why he thinks the smaller man can still win.
How is Crawford, his composure going to be like the moment a punch lands on him from Canelo?
Are you kidding me? Take that question back.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about Crawford.
Yeah.
He's
the weight classes.
He's the most composed guy. Yeah. What, you don't think he'll be prepared? You think it'll be a shock to him? No. He's already moved up 3 weight classes. So now you're talking 6. If you add on 3. Crawford has the ability to slow things down in the ring that very few people have.
Adding to the support is Shakur Stevenson, one of Crawford's closest friends and a rising star himself. Known for his sharp skills, Stevenson said Crawford won't just win, he'll make it look easy. Speaking to TV, Stevenson praised Crawford's confidence, especially his decision to fight without a rehydration clause. "That dude's crazy," he said, impressed by Crawford's boldness.
The others say, like, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, you know, so I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later, and he's still got that kind of steam.
Stevenson's faith in Crawford is strong, but it stands out compared to the caution from others like Benavidez and Lopez. The boxing world is divided. But one thing is clear. If this fight happens, it'll be one of the most exciting in recent memory. It's not just about skill, it's about strength, mindset, and legacy. But do you think Crawford can actually win? Let us know your thoughts and subscribe for more boxing breakdowns.